Well, folks, gather around because Apple has done it again. They've released a brand new iPad that looks exactly like the last one. And the one before that too. And if you squint just right, probably the one before that one too. This, my friends, is the M3 iPad Air, or the 2025 iPad Air, the latest in Apple's grand tradition of incremental upgrades that make you wonder, wait, didn't I already buy this one? Now, I've been using this thing for a little bit over a week now, and let me tell you, there is nothing quite like that feeling of holding a, open quote, new, end quote, device that feels exactly like the one you already own. Because Apple. Now, we do have a lot to unpack here, so let's go ahead and jump in. I want to preface this by saying that if you are upgrading to this from a really old iPad, you'll probably love it, especially since this guy here is built for Apple Intelligence, which, by the way, still doesn't exist yet. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk design here for a second, which, as you would imagine, is going to be a very short segment since I told you that it's exactly the same one from last year, right? Because nothing has changed between this and the 11-inch iPad Air released 10 months ago, which, by the way, is pretty odd in itself. That's an odd release cycle or schedule. It's kind of all over the place here. It was 10 months ago that we had that iPad Air. But I digress here. Nothing new to see here. If you've ever seen the M2 iPad Air, then you've seen this one. So with that, I do think that it's important to quickly cover a brief history of Apple's favorite game, Spot the Difference. So about a year ago, or 10 months specifically, Apple graced us with the M2 iPad Air, which was nearly identical to the M1 iPad Air, except for two key changes. The first one was performance, upgrading from an M1 to an M2 chip, then the second being the front-facing camera position change. I mean, wow. Just wow. Fantastically exciting stuff, right? And now we are in 2025, and Apple's given us the M3 iPad Air, which, brace yourself, has, yep, you guessed it, two new things, just like the one last year did compared to the year prior. The obvious upgrade from the M2 chip to the M3 chip, meaning performance, and the second one, ready for this? No one's gonna guess it. The second one being the removal of the words iPad Air from the back. That's the second upgrade there. It's just groundbreaking stuff, right? It's safe to say that the motto here is, if it ain't broke, just keep selling it. Again, just to recap here, the M3 iPad Air here is boasting that same aluminum frame, the same button placement, the same USB-C port, same single rear camera. It's the same one in a nutshell. I feel like I keep repeating myself here. So that was the recap. So let's go ahead and talk power, because this is the meat of the video. The M3 chip found in this new 11-inch iPad Air boasts an 8-core CPU, a 9-core GPU, and a 16-core neural engine, which is both impressive on paper and also in real life. According to Apple, we are looking at a chipset that makes the iPad Air 35% faster than the M1 iPad Air. This is essentially more power than the average person needs, if you ask me, and that's actually a good thing. But for everyday stuff like browsing the internet, handling emails, or doom scrolling social media and whatnot, you probably won't notice much of a difference unless you are coming from an older or just a few generations back. Gaming has been pretty smooth, multitasking, super smooth also, along with editing. And editing my test video here, I did notice a shorter render time when compared to my M2 iPad Air. Other than that, running your day-to-day tasks on this one is exactly the same user experience. With that, what I'm trying to say here is that you can get away with just grabbing an M2 iPad Air or even an M1 iPad Air, depending on what you need it for. As long as you know what your tablet needs are, and if you are a content creator, this here might be the one. By the way, if this is your first time visiting, welcome to the channel, of course. Please do me a favor. Hit both the like and the subscribe button. They are truly appreciated. Again, welcome to the channel. Now let's go ahead and talk display here, along with Apple's relentless commitment to 60 hertz refresh rate. I mean, it truly irks me to talk about that every single time. But, you know, if there's one thing that Apple is good at, it's probably making you pay extra for features that should have been standard years ago. And the display on the M3 iPad Air here is yet another example. We're still looking at that 60 hertz LCD panel. It's so confusing to me, you know, why they do this. You have an M3 chip with 8 gigs of RAM here so that you can experience high-level graphics on a subpar display. It truly is a head scratcher. I just don't get their reasoning here. I mean, other than that, you'll be able to consume media, you know, browse the internet, day-to-day tasks with no issues. It just works as you would expect. Now, another thing that is important to note is that because this device keeps, you know, the same size, same width, same everything here as its predecessor, most accessories from past generations are compatible. Remember, I said most, not all of them. That includes some Magic Keyboards along with some of the Apple Pencils. This is not as backwards compatible as I personally would like, but it is compatible with the newer Apple Pencil and even with a new Magic Keyboard with new features. With the Apple Pencil Pro, you have some pretty neat features, including the barrel squeeze to bring up the tool palette. It's pretty intuitive and gives you haptic feedback, pretty good ones by the way, so you know it's working. You can also rotate brush strokes by rolling the barrel in apps like Procreate. There is, I may have mentioned this already, a USB-C pencil that is cheaper, or a cheaper alternative, I should say. Battery is also pretty good here, same deal as what we had last year, but that stuff is subjective, as I always say. I'm a power user. Your usage is probably different than mine. You might see more or less battery life than I do, but overall, pretty good battery life. That's pretty much all I can say about battery here, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, with all of this said, where does this leave us in regards to the iPad Air M3 here, or the 2025 iPad Air here? Should you go for this guy here? What I can say is that if you are coming from an M1 iPad Air, then maybe, yes, maybe, depending on what you are looking to do with the M3 iPad Air. The jump from the M1 to the M3 is, you know, fairly noticeable depending on what you do with the iPad Air. Plus, you get the landscape camera and Apple Pencil Pro support, all that good stuff. So I guess to a certain extent, it is noticeable. But if you already own an M2 iPad Air, this here is a hard pass. It should be a hard pass for you. The differences are highly negligible, unless of course you're going for the powered. Then in that case, why don't you just go for a Pro and just call it a day? So if you're coming from something generations older, this is definitely a nice upgrade. So to summarize my take here, the M3 iPad Air is a good device. It's not an exciting one, but certainly a good device. I have my own gripe with it, which is why you saw me pick at some of the things at the beginning of the video, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good tablet. It's a good Apple tablet, and I can definitely recommend this in a lot of cases. So if you are currently in the market for an Apple tablet, looking for that power, just like I always say, make sure to figure out what your needs are in the tablet before you can decide to pull the trigger on either one of these, right? It's a lot of money, so you want to make sure that you pick out the right tablet. For some of you, you might be shocked to realize that a previous gen iPad Pro install would do the trick, right, in your specific case. For others, this might be the one to go for. All in all, just know that it's the same iPad Air we've had for years with a new chip and a few tweaks. If you are looking for an iPad Air, it's great. But if you're looking for something revolutionary, yeah, maybe come back next year. Anyways, that's just my take. I'm certainly hoping that this was informative. Let me know what your take is about this new iPad Air here in the comment section. Please do me a favor, hit both the like and the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Make sure to share this video with anyone who will be interested. Make sure, of course, to subscribe, like the video. I'm going to catch you in the comment section. I'm also going to catch you in the next video, like I always do. Up until that next video, of course, as always, Stay safe out there.